Hey y'all, I'm back. It's been a long time coming, but I'm back with another video. And this video is a very different video because I'm telling y'all how I became a bilateral below the knee amputee. A double below the knee amputee. So, I'm gonna get into it, tell y'all basically what happened. Long story short, I have a blood disorder that requires me to get blood transfusions pretty frequently. And my doctor and I came up with the solution of me getting a bone marrow transplant. That way, it can pretty much essentially help. That way I wouldn't have to get as many blood transfusions moving forward. So November, after Thanksgiving, November 2023, I was going to be admitted into the hospital to start that process. However, Lord behold, something completely and entirely different happened. So I did get a call for me to come in a day sooner than what I was supposed to go to basically get a blood transfusion before we got everything started. I went, checked in, nurses came to take my vitals and everything. And literally shortly after that, I was really hot. I got weak, kind of like feverish. And I had to have one of the nurses come in and help me to the bed because of how weak I was feeling. I ended up throwing up and everything. So I had a high fever, about 103, 104. But to me, I was cold. I had asked for a warm blanket. They ended up putting like ice around me, trying to like bring my temperature down because it was going up like crazy. And at the same time, my blood pressure was dropping drastically, like in a danger zone. So they ended up having to sedate me so that way, you know, my blood pressure wouldn't drop completely and pretty much lose me right then and there. So I was sedated for about a month and a half or so. I remember waking up, I believe, a few days before Christmas. And honestly, it was just a lot that had happened. I ended up having a hematoma. It was a huge hole, like right my hip area and everything. It was a lot that had went on. But for the amputation part in itself, me being sedated all that time, not moving around, not being up and being physical, I ended up losing blood flow to my feet and ankles, and even doing like a lot of wound care and everything. Fast forward to around January of this year, 2024, one of the doctors had mentioned an amputation may be best. And of course, that's not what I want to hear after, waking up. I'm confused. I didn't even remember what happened, how I got there. I didn't even know what was going on when I was first waking up and everything. It was crazy. So hearing that, they were discussing amputation, of course, my first response was not, I don't want to do that. So I did end up working with therapists, trying to see if, there was any other options, any other, ways besides that. After, doctors doing different CAT scans, MRIs, and everything, it was really like no hope for like, the return of my blood flow and everything for my feet and ankles. So the only way that I was going to say yes to such a huge decision like this, one, I definitely had to do my own research and everything, kind of like see what was going to be in store for me. And also I wanted to talk to other doctors and surgeons to get another opinion, to ask more questions, to see how this whole process worked, how much of my leg they're going to be cutting off, like all these different questions and things going through my mind, basically. So after doing my own research, kind of like looking into everything, and also after speaking to a surgeon, discussing it, getting all my questions answered, him letting me know it would be like, you know, below the knee, so I would still have like control of my knee and everything. And then, you know, down the line, I could get prosthetic legs and everything because, you know, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, so of course I still want to be able to live a full, fulfilling life, do things that I love, do new things that I haven't done before. So yeah, after talking to him, I decided to say yes. And, you know, of course I didn't want any infection to like get worse or get bad or anything like that. And, you know, it could possibly end up being worse. So I said yes. And they scheduled it that same week, I think later on that week. So January 18th of 2024 is when I had the amputation. I was in the hospital for, I think, maybe a few more days after that before I found a rehab that I would be going to, where they'll basically be teaching me, you know, like transfers, how to be independent and everything after the amputation, of course. And then, you know, later down the line, prosthetics and all of that comes about. So that's pretty much what happened on how I became an amputee. It was just a lot that happened in such a short amount of time. And honestly, I don't think any of us seen something like this happening or coming about, because, you know, I felt fine. Everything seemed pretty regular before I went to the hospital, when I was heading there. So it's like it just happened in like the matter of hours. Was pretty crazy. But I have great support. My family was there with me the whole time, even when I was sedated, hooked up to all these different IVs and machines. Okay. Trying to make sure my eye is clear. My goodness. Whew. So, sometimes it's still tricky to talk about, but I'm in a better place of talking about it. But I definitely have amazing support, amazing family that was there the entire time through everything that was going on. Come on, girl, get it together. But that pretty much sums it up on how I became an amputee. It's a lot, and it definitely was a lot that happened. But the short version of how I became an amputee is, you know, I went to the hospital for one thing. This happened. I was sedated all that time with no movement, none of that. I ended up losing blood flow to my feet and ankles. And ultimately, that was a decision that I had to make. And I made it, and here I am, a few months later, like 5 months later, learning how to use prosthetics now, hopefully preparing for more rehab so I can really get back to being up on 2 feet and moving around again. So I hope that helped kind of answer people's questions on what happened or how I became an amputee. I know people have been asking, and I try to sum it up best way I can. So this is basically the short version of what happened and how I became an amputee. I am going to be making future videos and more content going through the journey and everything, because one thing that did help me when I had to make this decision and doing my own research and looking up amputees and everything and looking up different journeys, sometimes it was tricky to find certain information out there. And my doctors and different therapists also encouraged me that since I do like doing videos and everything, it would be good for me to document my journey, you know, to possibly help other people who may be going through a similar thing or a similar situation. You never know. It can possibly help someone else. And then, you know, I do have different people who reach out, have different questions and things of that nature. So I try to answer whatever questions people have to the best of my ability. And if I don't have the answer, I definitely try to find out and inform people. So I am trying to spread awareness and just help there be an outlet for more information, because it is young people who go through drastic things like this, and sometimes we may just, you know, want to see like someone else's journey, and we may want to see like certain questions, certain things, certain visuals of how am I going to deal with this or how I'm going to get through this. There's other people out there. They may need to find someone who may also have went through the same thing, or who have information to answer those questions. That way they can see someone's journey. Because the thing that was tricky for me is I would always see amputees where maybe they just lost one limb and everything. It was very tricky for me to find people who had lost 2 limbs and everything and see certain journeys in detail. So I want to be that person who can show more detail and show my journey and document things and hopefully answer questions and put information out there that can be helpful for future use. But that pretty much sums this up. I hope I was able to answer any questions. I hope I was able to clear up anything that needed to be cleared up. And I hope you guys continue to follow me on my journey and, you know, add my social medias, subscribe to me on here. And if you guys have any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. I will answer them. I will get the answers. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you guys in my next video.